Welcome to Synced on Air. I'm your host, Angelique Robb, and we are brought to you by Turfs Up Radio. Today, I have a special guest and friend, Jay Worth. So he is the marketing manager from SingleOps, also the host of Green Industry Perspectives podcast. And I'm really excited to have you on today, Jay. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's always good to talk to you.
All the way from Italy as well.
It's where I'm based right now. This is true. Yes.
Well, awesome. Well, we have so much to talk about. I hope we have time in our short hour because, Jay and I share a similar passion in the industry. And I feel like, we only met probably 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's
Um,
probably been like 2.5 years ago. It's been a little
yeah,
while.
yeah. And, you know, since we had our podcast recording and we met in person, like, I don't know, we've just felt like I've known you for years. So,
Yeah. Feelings mutual. Yeah.
so tell us about, so let's rewind a bit and tell us how you got into this industry and a little bit of your background. Start
Sure.
there.
So I worked my senior year of high school, and the first summer or two I was home from college, I worked at an optometrist. And
Okay,
the
not very
last,
related. Okay.
yeah. Yeah. And it was a great, actually, it was a cool job, especially I was making good money for a high school kid back in the late 90s, like I was making good money then. But um, the one summer I came home, they were in between. So like in an optometrist office, you usually have what they call a contact lens technician. And that's the person that is like, I teach all the classes, teach people how to put contacts in and out of their eyeballs. And I'm responsible for all the ordering.
Okay.
So like I literally walked in this job. I am used to fitting people for eyeglasses, and I walked in, and all of a sudden I'm like, and I could do these things. I was capable, but I was like, I'm living in the movie Office Space. This is this is terrible. Like my boss was constantly writing me about, have you seen this report? When is this thing coming in? And blah blah blah. And I was like, I hate this. I hate this. And so I wanted to find a job where I was more physically active the next summer. I was like, forget it.
Mm.
I want to get out and move. And I looked at anything I could think of that was like physical. I was like, let me move my body. And
Yeah.
so I worked at this really shady moving company for 2 days. Day two,
2 days.
I showed up. Dude, day two, I showed up. And the guy looks at me and goes, you got a license, right? A valid driver's license? I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, you're driving the truck today. Day two. Day
Oh my
two.
goodness.
So
And
that
this
was
is like a big truck, a big
yeah,
18
yeah,
wheeler or like
not an 18 wheeler, but it's like a
but
good
a
like
big
30
moving truck.
foot, 35
Yeah.
foot moving truck. Yeah, like box truck. And we had to back it down this winding driveway. And one of the other guys looks at me, he goes, bro, you don't want to do that, do you? I was like, no, I don't. And he was like, we're not on the road. Do you want me to do it? I was like, yes, I do. So my guy got it and he did it. He aced it. He just didn't have a driver's
He didn't
license.
have a
Anyway,
driver's license. Oh
all that
no.
to say, all that to say, 2 days I lasted there. And then I said, you know what? And someone at my at the church, I'm pretty involved in my church. I was growing up and I still am. And he said he had a company. He had a maintenance company. And I knew that, and I had reached out to him and I said, hey, any chance you need some help for the summer? And so I spent that summer mow, blow, and go. It was it was a commercial work, so there was, I don't think,
Okay.
next to no residential. We did a couple of small residential projects here and there. He had his degree in like turf management and urban forestry or something like that from the University of Maryland. And he had two other guys working from, neither of whom spoke a lick of English. And he didn't speak fluent Spanish, but he was married to a Colombian woman. And I'm
And
not,
he didn't speak Spanish.
and
That's
he,
a shame. Oh,
anyway, I'll leave
anyway.
that to the side for a minute.
Okay.
What he did do, and like comically, and I don't know, it's a wonder I ended up staying in the industry, right? Um, Several times that summer, he would get into a fight with like the main helper, is a guy named Marcos, and he and Marcos would be like yelling at each other, and neither one of them understood. So he would
I was gonna say in different languages.
call his wife and put it on speakerphone. And he'd be like, "You tell Marcos, blah blah blah," and Marcos would be like, in like
Oh
chattering back to
my
her,
good.
and he put her right in the middle of these work fights, and I was like,
Okay,
okay,
that's
so
not
I
very.
actually enjoy the work. I enjoy being outside. I enjoy the physicality of it. But let's maybe find a different place. And sure enough, there was
Yeah.
another. Sure enough, there was another another woman that went to our church, and she said, "Hey, my brother-in-law owns a company. If you are interested, I'll give him a call and see if I can, try and work something out." And I pulled up there day one. First of all, he started later, which was really unique. I grew up in the DC area. DC summers get very, very hot. It's almost like the real South. And
Okay. The real South where I am.
yeah, yeah. And he started later, so we didn't start until like 8 a.m., which is like unheard of for landscapers. He was like,
Yeah.
I don't like getting up early. I'm not gonna make you guys get up early. And I walk into the yard, and he's out in the yard conversing in Spanish with his crews.
Oh
There were
wow.
16 Hondurans, one El Salvadoran, and one other American guy that were field labor. And the other
Yeah.
American guy didn't last long. And so for the first like 3 weeks, they didn't bother to learn my name. They called me Gringo. And it got to the point where I just answered to it. I was like, all right, hey, Gringo. And I was like, hey, what's up, Wilmer? Like Saul. I still remember these guys' names. They were ended up being a lot of them being good friends. And
Do you know Spanish?
uh, I speak a little bit, but I will say
Okay.
this: Spanish and Italian are similar enough that I'm really trying to master Italian while I'm living here, and
Yeah.
I can't revert to my Spanish because I end up saying the wrong thing in Italian.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They're just different enough that like
Sorry, I
anyway.
interjected. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, I used to be conversationally fluent, and in fact, that served me well throughout a lot of my career. But that summer, it was a full service landscaper. I learned everything. We poured an exposed aggregate patio twice because we screwed it up the first time. Had to rip it all out and redo it. I
Ouch.
learned actual like masonry hardscaping, brick pavers. I learned decking. I learned brush clearance, edging and mulching, planting. I learned a lot that summer,
Wow.
and I ended up
Wow.
working for him a couple summers. I went to school in Florida at a small private university, and as part of that, actually, I had a part-time job working on a palm tree farm.
Oh,
So it was a really
neat.
cool, yeah, it was a
Yeah.
really cool experience. Palm trees are also kind of, I don't remember a whole, so like there's a lot of people that like get crazy about palms, and you're gonna like at me after this episode. And I don't remember a bunch of it. I do remember some species and some characteristics and things like that. But I
Oh,
just remember being really like fascinated by the romance of that. I just think palm trees are something, especially for someone that grew up in a non
palm
subtropical
tree. Yeah,
area.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's something really cool about palm trees. So I grew up
Feels
doing
like
that, but
another world, huh?
it
Yeah.
really, really does. Yeah. So right out of college, I spent a couple of years. I actually worked at a school for at-risk kids. And when the bottom fell out of the economy, my wife and I relocated, and I found myself working for Scott's Lawn Service. Um,
Okay.
and I sold lawn care door to door, and that's when I really like fell in love with the industry. I've got a background doing others. I've been in the field and done lots of things,
Yeah.
but and including lawn care. I was out doing for when they needed help with labor or things like that. I'd be out doing putting down grub control or limestone or whatever. Some for applications, things like that. But aerating and seeding. But cool season turf grass is like really the thing that like I was like, I know it sounds like an incredibly specific and really boring niche, but I really love cool season turf grass. It's a lot of fun. I'm an expert at that now. And after several years, and I ended up working in total for 6 years there. I took a year off in between and sold advertising. I made a lot of money and was really miserable and went back to knocking doors. Um,
Well, all I love how you've done so many different things. I mean, that really tests you as a person to know that you're happy in where you end up. I think you
yeah.
almost have to know what you don't like doing to figure out what you do. So, sorry, interjected again.
Yeah, no, no, that's fine. There's not much more to it. After that, I ended up at a full service landscaper again. I started out as the inside salesperson there, selling lawn care over the phone, sometimes out in the field doing applications too. And grew eventually took over that department and grew it from just one direct report to where I had a team of people reporting to me. And left there, went back to marketing for 9-ish months. Remembered why I didn't like it. I like marketing. Remembered why I don't like marketing for other people. Why I like marketing in the green industry, and
Yeah.
and then landed at SingleOps. They needed someone. They One of the things that I really like about SingleOps that I think is really cool is they really want to equip the industry. They want to be a partner.
Mm,
It's not just about let's get a sale, let's get a new customer. They want to help you grow your business, and
mm.
they want to grow with you. So they've grown the product just in the few years that I've been there. They've grown the product's capabilities pretty significantly, and I think for the better. And so as you grow your business, as your business expands and grows, it'll grow with you. And I think that that's a tremendous thing. And then also they're going to resource you. And that's why they hired me. They wanted somebody that had industry experience, that speaks the same language, that was competent as a communicator. And some people might debate that, but halfway competent as a communicator to create resources for them. So, I've written tons of blogs. We've created best practice guides. I've created best practice guides that live on our website that you can download for free about how to recruit and retain the best talent, about change management, about reporting, what reports you should be using, how to use them, what roles in the company should be using them, sales best practices. There's all these resources. And then plus, you
That's
mentioned I host
fantastic.
the
Yeah.
podcast. Yeah. I'm working on one right now that I say I've been working on. I've been working on it for months, and it's just really slow going because my schedules are a little wonky. But I'm gonna working on one too about how to like niche down and like find your focus, find your passion, and then learn to say no to
Oh,
other things so that
that's a
you
good
can grow
one.
your business. Yeah, I think it's a cool topic. So
Yeah.
um all that to say, they really want Single Ops as a company really wants to resource the industry. And so yeah, go check those things out. Go check those resources out. I think they will help you. Just recently, I had a professional contact on LinkedIn, a guy who's trying to grow his business. I said to him, "Hey, we connected?" And I said, "Can I help you with anything?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm kind of. Do you have any resources around this topic?" And it was one of the top. It was recruiting and retention. Or no, excuse me, it was marketing. We have a marketing guide too. Best practices
Okay.
for marketing. And I sent him. I said, "Hey, I've actually written a guide on that. Like, this is the best practices for our industry. Can I send it to you?" And that way he didn't have to give me his email, right? Because I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure. I wanted to make
I'm not
sure.
going to spam you. I'm not going
Yeah,
to.
you will have to give your email if you go to our website. We're not going to spam you either.
Okay. Okay.
But
I didn't mean you were.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I sent it to him, and he immediately, like, he looked at it, and about 5 minutes later, I could see he read the message. About 5 minutes later, he said, "This is a fantastic resource. How else can you help me?" And that was, for
Wow.
me, was very validating. It was like, yes, this is proof of concept. Not that we need it. I mean, we had the proof of concept there already. It's just a more recent story about how Single Ops is interested in helping businesses like that to grow. And they're creating resources and investing in resources that really are empowering people to grow their businesses. So
Well, and I think you add a lot to the content that we're creating too. You've been contributing
mm,
since almost since we met. And what I love is the approach that you have is very strong, clear, and and quite deep as well in the topics that you've written for us. Similar, the recruiting and retention, and that was at the inaugural Sync Live. You
mhm.
talked about that. I tell so many people about that presentation because I loved how creative you were in in the layout of it, and it just so engaging.
Mm,
And I think we today, you know, we almost get information overload a lot, and it's hard to separate the the good stuff sometimes because you feel
absolutely.
like it's coming at you instead of you searching things out, it's coming at you. Um, and I really have been impressed with working with you, delivering content for our publication, but especially for the event. And you were in from Italy. You came all the way from Italy for this year's Sync Live event,
I
um,
did.
to talk about change management. And I remember talking to you about it, and I was like, I think I want you to do, because you'd been writing for us in the magazine about change management, and I just think um, we are an industry that we love what we're doing, and so I meet a lot of accidental entrepreneurs and accidental business owners, and we need these business skills, like,
Yes,
and you need them, not just the business owner, but you need them all throughout the company, and I think they're so critical.
absolutely.
And I was like, you know how can you make change management exciting? And you were like, I love that topic, I can't wait to do that. I'm like,
Yeah,
so
I think that, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Go
no,
ahead.
no, go ahead. No, no, go.
I just gonna say, I think that it's something that so many people can relate to because, and we don't think about it in those terms, but so many of us have been an employee, right? And had bosses manage change poorly.
Yeah,
And that impacts our day to day. It impacts how we feel about coming to work. And then in the flip side of that, I've been a part of organizations and been a leader in organizations where we manage change really well. And you just see what a night and day difference. Like, okay, I had this awful experience with it, but I'm going to now, as a leader, I've learned from the things that I hated about it. How do I make
yeah,
that better for my people? And you really get more out of them. And that's not why you do it. You do it because you care about them wanting to come to work. But they're more productive, they're happier, and the change tends to stick better when you manage it effectively. And so, yeah, like I think people kind of like, oh, change management, but I'm like, no, this is a chance for you. It's like getting a negative review on Google, right? Like, this is a
yeah,
chance for you to shine. This is a
yeah.
chance for you to take something that could be drudgery and could be painful and just flip it on its head and make it such a fun, positive experience by putting in a little bit of the right work. And anyway, so I'm off my soapbox now.
No, that's
Go ahead.
no, and I think that, you know, would so I have a list of questions here, but like one of the things is, you know, how game-changing technology and talking about change management and all these topics that you're writing guides for and putting this content out in the industry, um, you know, how we can help the industry improve. And when I say that, it does mean that we've got to change. And I think change, it isn't something that comes natural to a lot of people. And I almost feel like, I was in the oil industry before this industry, and I thought, people in the oil industry were slow to make change. But then I came into our industry and I thought, oh, wow, another
Maybe
industry
they were
that's,
really
yeah,
flexible and I just
maybe
didn't
they were,
realize.
maybe they were very proactive. No, and I, and then I've read a lot about it since, and that it's hard for a lot of people to embrace change. But like, on the other hand, if you don't change, you can be, you know, not profitable. You can be, you can do things that upset your employees or upset people you work with. There's so much that can go wrong if you're not paying attention to people around you. Um,
Yeah.
so I guess, you know, how do you want to give a little bit of insight into your talk that you did at Sync Live 2024 about change management, and like what you would want to leave people with today on why it's so important to embrace it? And I mean, you did say a little bit earlier, but what sorry,
Yeah.
I
No,
could,
I'm listening.
I'll keep asking questions if you don't answer. So go
Yeah.
ahead
So
and give us some insight from that.
I think, well, first of all, why is it important? Um, it's important because, well, as I mentioned, it deeply impacts the way your people feel about showing up to work, right? You've invested a lot of time and money and effort and blood and sweat and tears into recruiting people that you think are rock stars. And at least you should if they're on your team, right? You should hope, I
Yeah.
hope you think your team are rock stars. And so why would you then just throw that all down the drain? Just
Hmm.
dump it out, pour it out, and let it go to waste because you were the term that's coming to mind is not that charitable. I should probably pick a different word, but I'm going to say lazy because you were too lazy to just do some basic research, just explore it. Maybe you go download a free resource from our website. No, just I'm done with the plugs. But seriously though, there are tons of resources available for this, and you don't even have to nail it 100%. But according to the Harvard Business Review, 70% of change efforts fail in business.
Wow, that's huge.
So if you can just fail half as often as the rest of us, right? I mean, only 35% of your change efforts fail. How much of an advantage does that give you in the marketplace as well?
Yeah.
When knowing that your competitors will probably fail at
Well,
double the rate you do.
and change costs money too. So
This is my
again,
point, right?
it's a waste of money if you fail at it. And 70%. So and that's across all industries.
Yeah, that's across all
Um,
industries. That's a remarkable, shocking number. And we're
that
talking
is.
companies from little mom and pop shops to IBM and Oracle and these massive,
Well,
Facebook,
and
right?
they
Like
have the systems and the,
you'd think they have
procedures.
all the
You would think
resources.
they'd
There's
have.
no way they can fail, but they do all the time. And so, yeah, it costs you time, it costs you money, it may cost you turnover, which also costs you
Yes,
time and money.
a lot of money. Yeah.
And if you're not streamlining things, by adapting to the marketplace, it's probably going to impact your bottom line. It's going to impact your profitability. And so there's a lot at stake if you don't nail that. And again, uh, even if you only fail half as often as your competitors, you're going to be at a huge advantage, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So I think in terms of there's an 8-step, and again, I actually stole these and then adapted them for our industry.
Well,
I didn't pioneer these. I had a lot of these steps in my original outline, and then I found this article as I was researching it, and I was like, this is way better than what I had. But
but that's more efficient use of your time to
yeah.
yeah, look
So
for the best
there's an
resource.
article by a guy named John Cotter in the Harvard Business Review called why transformation efforts fail, or why change efforts fail, or something along those. Google it. Google
Yeah.
John Cotter, Harvard Business Review, why does change fail? You'll find the article. Um,
I think we reference it in, or you reference it in the article that you wrote for Synced. So you can
yeah, I wanted
also
to make sure I was citing it.
look it up on the Synced website. Great.
Absolutely. But I think the first few steps there are really the most important. And the first one is this: you just can't change something just for the sake of changing something.
Yeah.
There has to be, you have to identify an actual real business problem that you're trying to solve for. Not just I as the owner, I as the manager, director, division leader, whatever, want it my way. That's not a good enough reason to change everything or to
Yeah.
change significant things about the way your team functions.
Yeah.
Um, and then you have to assemble a team that has the right mixture. There should be senior leaders, so you should have C-suite people in there. You should have division leaders in there. You should have some frontline workers in there, people that
Hmm.
carry influence in your organization. It shouldn't just be about, who has a title. You put a bunch of
Yep.
titles in the room. You look, we've all worked, and it's why half of you listening to this went and started your own company because you had a leader that you
Yeah.
didn't like, and you're like, I'm not going to listen to that person anymore. I'm going to go do my own thing, right? So
Yeah.
there are people like that in your company. There's people that you employ that other people probably won't listen to, even despite the fact that they have a title. Don't put those people in the room. Grab those frontline workers that you know have influence with other people. It doesn't matter what their title is. Grab people with influence. put them
Yeah.
in the room, talk them through the problem, have them troubleshoot solutions with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then allow them to, and then the next step is allowing them to kind of create a vision, like explaining what the problem is, what the solution is, and what the company looks like what's the benefit to everyone involved on the other side
And then
of the
they own it.
solution. Yeah,
And
and then they
then
own it,
it's,
right?
yeah.
Then you've
Yeah.
got buy-in, you've got immediate buy-in, because you know what, you can't be in every place at the same time. And so when the grumbling inevitably happens, not everyone's going to be excited about the change.
Hmm.
Those people in your organization that have influence are going to be your advocate behind like when you're out of the
Yeah.
room, when they're out in the field or we're in a crew room and you're not around and someone starts dogging the process and like bad mouthing it, no, I can't believe we're doing this and blah blah. You've got people that are going to say, time out, man, I was in that room,
Yeah.
like this is why it's a problem, don't you see that? And then they'll walk them
Yeah.
through it. They'll do the same thing with them that you did with the grumbler, that you did with your change team
Hmm.
to begin with. They become your advocate and they help everyone else to see why the change has to play, what the problem is, why it's a problem, what the solution is, and you know what the future looks like, why it benefits everyone to make this change. So those are the
Yeah.
first few steps, and I think those are really the most critical.
Yeah. Yeah.
um
No, I think that's great. It's a great synopsis of, if people want more information, we'll put the links to the three-part series that you wrote in our publication, and
yeah.
also the talk from Sync Live in 2024, that we were lucky to have you come in from Italy.
Oh, thank you.
Um, and, back to back to you. So when I look at, what you're doing right now, you're so passionate about helping people. And when I look back at your experiences, um, and I think that's what you're doing in Italy too, aren't you? What do you
Yeah,
tell us what you're up
uh,
to over there, please?
yeah, sure. My wife and I are both credentialed ministers, and there's a network of English speaking international churches across Europe. So we work at one of those essentially. There's the town I live in is a university town. It's the University of Padova is the fifth oldest university in the world. It was founded in
Wow.
1222.
Oh my goodness.
So it was old before America was even born.
Yeah,
Um,
that is crazy to think about.
it's while Galileo was on staff, and it was already old by the time he was there.
Oh
Okay,
my
so
goodness.
yeah, it was older than America is now when Galileo joined the staff. So just to give you a sense of the age, like
That's
people,
wild.
it's wild because like in America, you know, growing up in America, we think, oh wow, like this thing, and you know this too. You lived in Europe for a long time.
1920s, so
Like, oh
long
my
ago.
gosh,
Yeah.
this house was built in 1887. Like that was reconstruction. Can you believe how old that is? And like here people like laugh at that. Like, oh, that's the new section of town, you know. Um so it's a very different, it's kind of surreal experience. But that's what we do. There's a lot of university students, there's a lot of international workers that are kind of just like left out and pushed on the margins because they don't speak Italian, or they don't speak Italian well enough, you know, like
To be considered a
people
local
know
or
they're foreigners, right? Because their
yeah.
accent and so they speak English, and that's what we do. We work at the church. My wife runs children's ministry and runs some of the social media feeds for the church that we serve at. And then I lead a young adults and university group. I'm getting ready to, in a couple of weeks here, about 10 days, I'll be running a 10K with one of them.
Oh,
Yeah, I had to go run. Full disclosure, I shouldn't have, and you can edit this out later, Angela, because this is really important. But I shouldn't have, I ran one this morning just to make sure I could still do it. I was like, I need to know if I can finish this with this guy or I'm gonna be gassed. And because he's like 15 years younger than me, you know. And yeah, so
and you did it.
I did, but I'm a little
Okay.
like, maybe I had to have a second, I had to have a third cup of coffee right before we sat down here because I was like, I'm gassed. Anyway, yeah, so it's just doing life alongside people and helping them in any way that we can, and we really enjoy that. But yeah, we just enjoy serving people, and so I think that's part of what I love about the industry, the green industry, is that it's just so collaborative. You know,
It
people,
is.
you always find somebody that's willing to help. And I think it's one of the things that makes it the most wonderful industry in the world to work in.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that yeah, you're serving the industry very well. I love,
Thank
I
you.
was kind of nervous about having you on the podcast because your podcasts are so organized and you have the questions ahead of time and just the preparation and I love that you're very good at drawing things out of people.
Mm,
It or
thank you.
and summarizing them back to the audience, which I think is a skill in itself. And it means that you're, understanding more deeply what people are talking about, I think, than a cursory conversation. So I've listened to not all of your podcasts, but a lot of them, and I have a lot
Wow.
saved, but
Thank you.
they're intense. Like, well, I learned so much from them and about these people that you have on,
Yeah.
and it takes, like, I'm a multitasker. I know that's not a good thing to do, but and if I'm driving somewhere and listening to podcasts, I'm like, oh, I just missed the last 5 minutes. I have to go back and rewind it.
uh,
Rewind. That shows how old I am, but
I do the same thing. I do the same
you
thing. I
know,
actually do it when I'm going for runs. I listen to podcasts. I'm the same way.
okay, okay. But I really think, you're opening up so much to the industry um and like what I was meant to award you with on stage at Sync Live 2024, that you have introduced me to so many people around the industry that I now call you the king of connections for Synced.
I did that made the trip back with me, by the way. That's here in Italy with me, the bottle opener. I appreciate it.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Well, I love that you're, involved with us and making such an effort to be a part of our community. And yeah, I just am very excited to have you as a friend. So
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
what
it's funny. Go
oh, go
ahead.
ahead.
Sorry.
No, no. I was going to
No,
change the topic.
okay, I was just gonna say, it's funny you mentioned and I appreciate that because it's something I try to work at, like the let me summarize things back and things like that. Actually, I met at Sync Live this year when Frank Mariani was there. It's the first time I
Oh,
met him in person, was able to connect with him, and he was on the podcast. And he is, I think, a large part of the reason why our industry is so collaborative. I think because Frank set the tone for that decades ago. That's my personal opinion,
oh, wow.
as an industry leader. But he he was talking, and Frank. If you've never met Frank, Frank's the most gracious, wonderful man. He's just a great guy, and but he does like to talk. He's true Italian, and I can say that now living here. But he was talking and talking and talking, and then I actually did this. I like, okay, so what I heard you say is this, and he just stops and he looks and he goes, you know, this is why my business is successful because I get up here and I'm the idea guy and I just ramble, and then along comes Jay Worth. I hire people like you because you can send,
Yeah,
organize my all my thoughts and put that all together. So that episode's coming out soon. Stay tuned
that's
for that one.
funny.
Yeah,
Well,
Frank's a wonderful dude, and I wouldn't have met him without you and what Sync Live, the event you put on and the things that you guys are doing. So I just really appreciate you too, Angelique.
oh, thank you. Well, I'm looking forward to that episode with Frank because I do feel like I'm a rambler too. And when you would summarize things back to me, I was like, oh, wow, he said that so much better than I did.
No, 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 no. I don't think better. Different.
Or
Not better.
succinct. And, I think, yeah, it just, you get people, and I think that that's a gift. So yeah, it really adds a lot. You're adding a lot to our industry, so thank you.
Thank you.
And
Trying to.
yeah, you're doing it well. And I thought, I know you said a little bit about single ops earlier, but what who is the right audience for SingleOps? Do you want to give everybody a little bit of a steer why, what it's for, and who should consider it and why? Just a little synopsis.
Yeah. In my opinion, I think SingleOps is best fit, like the optimal fit. I think it's probably the best software on the market for tree care companies. I think it's really, really, really good for landscape maintenance companies as well. Okay. Um, SingleOps is end to end, and there are other. I mean, we have some other verticals that use it. We have full service landscapers that use it. People that kind of like, I won't say make it work for them. These are the industries that it serves best. Okay,
Okay.
so I think it's good for anybody in the industry. But those are probably the two best fit in my opinion. So maybe
Mm.
my boss listens to this and says, Jay, you totally screwed that up. So if that happens, Angelique, I'll be
Let me
emailing you
know. Yes.
frantically. Can we remove that from the podcast? Can we remove that from the YouTube channel? But I think that those are the best fit. And I'll tell you what, you can end to end. So from the moment you receive a lead, a customer calls in or emails you or whatever, you can enter their information, schedule an estimator. The estimator goes out, salesperson, whatever you want to call them, goes out. They can propose the work a lot of times on site in the app, have an email
Oh, wow.
proposal in the customer's inbox before they pull out of the driveway, depending on the scope of the work. You
Yep.
know, obviously more complex jobs, it's different, but um, have that sitting in there. The customer can accept that in app if the job is over a certain dollar threshold. I want to say it's $1,000. Don't quote me on that. There's a an option for financing, so you can actually offer them
Oh,
financing
wow.
right in the app, which prevents your cash flow as the business owner from being interrupted. You get paid at once, and then they can set up a payment plan with a third party financer. So they can set up a payment plan in app. That work order then goes to your scheduler. They make sure all the right equipment, because your estimator has done this, has put like what equipment needs to be on there, where the access points are, all the any hazards you need to look out for. You can even use the mapping tool to tell the crews where to park the truck. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So that everybody stays safe. Or so that, you don't block a
Or
neighbor's
you don't. I
driveway,
was going to say upset a neighbor is the first thing I thought of.
right? Work smarter, people. But yeah, you can map and say, hey, okay, this tree comes out, this one needs pruned, these are the beds we're doing. You can do that all from a satellite photo, color code it, truck parks here. This is the drop zone for this tree, etc. Right?
Hmm.
So all of that is in the app. It goes to the scheduler, scheduler reviews it, schedules the crews. The crews have access to all of that. They can clock in and out in the app. You can use GPS integration to track your trucks and equipment to and from the job site, so you know exactly how long they were on the job site. And then when it's done, it goes, if they haven't set up the payment plan, it goes right back to the invoice, goes straight to the customer. And they can pay in app. And it all
Wow.
reconciles with your QuickBooks. It's
Yeah.
very robust.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really do think it's the most complete solution. That's a large part of why I work here. So that's what SingleOps does. I think it's a really powerful tool. I think it saves people a lot of time and a lot of money. Doing things manually or maybe doing them with another software that's not as good a fit for what they do. And so, yeah,
Yeah. No,
that's a little bit
fantastic.
about SingleOps. Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you for that, because I
Mhm.
think that, yeah, it's, it's like I said earlier, we have a lot of, accidental entrepreneurs, or you've
Yeah,
come into the industry and you're good at what you do and you want to do it on your own. And we often, I'm the same. I mean, my landscape business was the first business that I had run. So I was learning on the job, never enough time to do everything I wanted to do.
come on, you
And
didn't get into that because you love scheduling, Angelique? You didn't get
paperwork.
into that
No,
because you love
I,
payroll and timesheets and come
yeah,
on.
I know. It's exact opposite of what you want to do when you're in the industry. You're a doer.
Yeah.
And I think we're an industry of doers, and like we like to be in the field. And so, anything that can help, our businesses do that, and charge the right amount and make sure
Yes.
that we're profitable, and I think
Yes.
that was, you know, for me, it was a real shock to understand the overheads that this is where I am by myself. I want to hire employees and I want to run a professional business. And to know how much that costs and how much you have to charge to then get those, overheads paid for, pay for things like software, your insurance, your employees,
Yeah.
the tax, the benefits, all this stuff. It's a real learning curve, and I did it the hard way, you know. And I think there's still a lot of people doing it the hard way. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I should have specified, I'm glad you mentioned that. I should have specified, when you're proposing that in app, it'll show you your profit margins.
oh, that is a good point. So, but
It's not
not
just like, hey,
but
here's
not to the client.
not to the client. No, yeah, not to the client. Obviously,
Yeah,
your
obviously.
estimator will be able to see this is how much I need this is how many man hours I need to assign or whatever. As long as we stay within these man hours, we're going to meet this profit margin. Like you can see that in app, and then you can reconcile that with how many man hours did we actually work.
Yes, which we all should be doing.
Yes.
And
But you
yeah,
can do all that. All that is in the app too. So I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, that's actually another really powerful part of the software. Is it like anything, it takes a little bit of in the onboarding process. We have specialists that will help you work through that. But once it's
yeah,
set up, it becomes tweaks to your tables. Your hourly labor rates and things like that. But yeah, it'll actually show you your materials costs or whatever. It does show you exactly how much money you're making on every single job that goes out the door. So
wow, which only makes your business stronger. The more, I mean,
come
this
on.
is the thing about data. And I know we're an industry that are more about doing and we're not about capturing data, but now the tools that are out there can help us so much. So I think yeah, thanks for talking us through that, because I think it
Yeah.
it does help to have like a just very brief synopsis of what SingleOps can do for you. And those of you listening, Jay has already mentioned that he has lots of guides that are on the website, SingleOps website, for free to download. Is that what you said? So
Yes.
marketing guides. I see a lot of groups asking about marketing lately
Send them
because
my way. Send them
it,
my way, Angelique, when you see this, because
yeah,
I love helping. Sorry. Anyway,
go
go ahead.
ahead now.
No, like marketing is something that I think once people understand it, it's so powerful because not only does it help you acquire new customers more at a better cost point, right? Like you
Mhm.
can get new customers more with less expense, more inexpensively. I don't know how to say
Yeah.
that. My brain is not functioning right now. You can get new customers cheaper, right? You can
Yes.
spend less to acquire one, but it will also help you with your recruiting efforts because the principles are definitely exactly transferable. I mean, there's a one-to-one relationship to that. So if you can write good copy
Great point.
for an ad, you can write good copy for a job posting.
Yes. Yes. And the more professional you are, the more you're sharing, the more you're educating people, the more you're
It's a
getting out
skill
there.
that applies to more than one area of the business,
Yeah.
is my point. And I think you get a greater when you begin to understand it, you really invest in learning it. You get a better return on investment than just new customers. You start to recruit a higher quality of candidate as well. So,
Fantastic. Well, I hope the audience is listening and learning so much from this today. How can they reach out to you, Jay?
Jay at
That's
SingleOps.com.
easy.
That's a great way to do it. Or you can look for me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has this thing, and the only reason I have it set up this way is because I like to see. I just want to know, like, are my posts reaching the right people? That's like marketing 101. Like, if I want to help business owners, are business owners actually the ones seeing my posts? And so I have on what's called creator mode on LinkedIn. It will tell you when you go to send me a connection request, it will say Jay prefers to be followed. It like sounds very
Okay.
pretentious on LinkedIn. Just send me a connection request. I'm not actually that pretentious. I will accept your connection request. Just send a little message in there. Heard you on Synced on Air. I'd like to connect. And we're off to the races. But yeah, go to LinkedIn as well. And that way you'll also see when new podcast episodes drop or when
Yes.
new blog posts drop. I tend to post those things there as well. Any resources that can help you run your business more effectively, create raving super fans of your business and win customers for life. Like that's what our business wants to do, SingleOps wants to do, but that's also what I want to do personally. I want to help you win more. And if I can do that, I will. So feel free to connect with me there as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I think, we didn't even answer half the questions, but we're out of time. So we're going to have to do another podcast.
I'm here for it. Let's do it. That sounds great.
And hopefully, will you still be in Italy? How long are you there? Or
About
don't
another
know?
year. About
Okay.
another year. 11 months maybe at this point. We'll see. Depends on
Well,
paperwork.
hopefully we can get you to our next Sync Live event. We're
I would
working
like
on
that.
it just now, and yeah, have some exciting news to share maybe in a couple weeks or so. So
Yay.
stay tuned.
I'm excited. Thank you for all you're doing for the industry too, Angelique. You are a gift to the industry and I appreciate you.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks so much for being on here, and let's schedule another one.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.